Hi everybody, and welcome to this video on how to use Sli.do in the hybrid training environment. Sli.do is a really great tool for a bunch of different reasons, and we're going to talk a little bit about some of the considerations that you might want to make when you're using a tool like this, a quick overview on how to get started quickly with this tool, and other considerations on how to engage your audience both in person and online when you use a tool like Sli.do. So what is Sli.do? Sli.do is a really great application that is free for facilitators. Yes, there are more advanced paid versions, but one great thing about it is you can easily create an account and get started right away, and it doesn't cost anything. It has some really excellent features that allow you to engage with your audience, both sitting right in front of you face-to-face while you're presenting or engaging together in a training session, as well as online or both. So let me talk a little bit about why you might want to use a tool like this and what it can accomplish for you as you're facilitating a hybrid training. We know that one of the challenges with hybrid training is helping all of the participants feel connected to one another. And that's especially challenging if you are in person as a facilitator and you have in-person trainees in the room or in-person learners with you, but then you also have a subset of people online watching and participating from their computers. And one of the things that we want to make sure is the case as we're facilitating an environment like that is that none of the groups feel left out, particularly the group that is participating online, because we already know that sometimes with online learning, those participants can feel more isolated. So yes, you will have additional support to help engage with the audience as they are part of this training process. But when you can also leverage a tool like Sli.do, it can really bring everybody together and allow you to have some fun, get some formative feedback about your students and what they're learning, and engage in a way that's a little bit more unique. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about how you can get started with this tool right away and some of the considerations. And by the end of this video, you'll be able to go on, play a little bit with the technology, and take it from there. As a part of this training course, we're also going to include some links to the videos that Sli.do has created. These are quick tips and quick start ideas that you can use to further your knowledge about this particular technology. So Sli.do is an interaction app, right? It's a way to create interaction between groups of people using fun tools like polling, Q&A, icebreakers. It allows you as a facilitator to get feedback. So how do you access it? Well, it's pretty easy. The first thing that you need to do is go to the Sli.do website. The Sli.do website is where you will log in for the first time. And interestingly, that's also where your participants will log in for the first time once you're actually live facilitating this. So it's really easy to access. Now, I mentioned that it is free, so there are paid versions of this particular tool, but please know that you can access all of these features that I'm about to talk about simply by using the free version of this. The first thing you'll need to do is create that free account, and once you've done that, it'll give you access to various features within Sli.do. So I'm going to go over to my administrator dashboard within Sli.do and show you a couple of things. The first thing that you'll notice is that this gives you a chance to create a new Sli.do directly from the nice new Sli.do button, which I'm going to show you in just a second. But the other neat thing is you can integrate it directly into any of your favorite presentation tools if that's something you want to do. However, when you're first getting started, it's just as easy to give people the Sli.do code that they can go to the website and access this information themselves. And that might be what you want to start off doing as you're getting used to the tool. So when you go to New Sli.do, it's going to give you an option to create something from scratch or to create from a template. And again, as a new user, I highly recommend you take a look at the templates that they have available. The templates are designed to be aligned to certain learning and or meeting experiences. But what it does is it actually curates some of the key polling / Q&A / engagement options that they have into one little package pre-populated with questions for you that pretty much work in any training environment. So it truly is a plug and play option if you are brand new to the technology and you don't know where to start. So if you click on that, you'll see templates listed on the left-hand side. All hands meetings, team meeting, training, online lecture, or even a retrospective. Don't be limited by these labels. You can actually see some value in these even if it doesn't actually match the type of environment you're going to be in. So for example, you may find that the templates included within the all hands template is a great starting point for you, and that's fine. So what happens when you choose the template bundle that you want? Well, it's pretty simple. All you do is click on Use Template, and it's going to ask you to create an event name, when that event starts and when it ends, and it gives you an event code. That event code is the main thing that your participants are going to need in order to participate in the Sli.do once you launch it within the online training environment and in the face-to-face environment. I'm going to show you one that I've already created. So here's an example of one that is that same training template. It has the number next to it, and if I click on it, you'll see that it has 3 pre-populated items in here. A word cloud poll, which is great to use when you're first starting out the training. It's a good icebreaker. It's also a good way to set expectations. A rating poll, which is something that you can use during the training as a way to gauge how people are feeling about a particular topic, if they're confused, if they're ready to move on. And then an open text poll, which is a great option to use towards the end of a training session that allows learners to reflect on what they've learned and what the most valuable thing that they learned was for that particular session. So if you did our previous education series about teaching and training online, you'll probably notice some similarities in these options compared to what we talked about in those courses. Most valuable piece of information, utilizing word clouds. There's a lot here that should look somewhat familiar to you. And again, what's nice about this template is this was all created without me having to do anything other than click a button and put in a few informational details. I'm going to show you what it looks like in participant mode. So imagine for a second you are in the middle of presenting and you want your learners to engage with Sli.do. You know that you have people sitting in front of you in the actual physical classroom environment, and then you also have people participating online. The nice thing about Sli.do is people can access these polls, these Q&As through their phones or through another device like a tablet, or if they're working from a laptop or a desktop, they can easily access this. So that's an important consideration, because sometimes when you're facilitating in an environment where you have some people sitting with you face-to-face and others online, you can't always be sure that the technology that they have access to is the same. But most people have access to some type of mobile device, and Sli.do works on mobile devices. So this is one that's a pretty much a sure thing that most people in the training session will be able to participate. So what's nice about doing this from the administrator standpoint is there's this little slide out on the left side that says participant mode, so you can see what it looks like as a participant. So if I were doing the word cloud poll and I clicked on participant mode, it's going to pull up what it would look like on my phone. And if I want to say what the most valuable thing that I learned today was, I can say what that was. I learned about just making something up, and click send. And it will start to populate on the side. Now, obviously, all the participants' responses will begin to show up there. As I mentioned, there's also an opportunity to do a word cloud poll. So again, let me show you in participant mode. It's asking me what in one word, what would you like to take away from this training? I put skills. Let's say I pick something else just to show you, for example, knowledge. It'll start to show up in the live area. So if you were presenting, you'd be able to see this, and your learners would be able to see it as well. And again, these aren't anything that I just created. This was pre-populated for me. Now, if I'm an audience member and I want to access the Sli.do, it's really easy to access it. So the same way that you set up your account, you send your audience to that same website, or they can scan the QR code and they simply add the code where it says joining as a participant. That 6-digit code, they add it right there, launch it, and it'll show up on their phone. And again, it's all mobile friendly and very, very easy to use. I mentioned that you can integrate this into other presentation software applications. You might want to try to do that, especially as you get more comfortable with the tool, because it's an easy way to have a seamless presentation as you go. But again, you don't have to do that. And you can also create these from scratch. So if you don't want to use a series of 3 in that template version that I just showed you, you can create a single one. If you want a single Q&A or a single live poll that you want to launch at some point, again, easy to do that. This would also be a great opportunity to tag team with the person who is co-facilitating with you, especially in the online space, to get this launched and ready to go, because it's an easy way to kind of have both sets of participants engaging in the same technology. So what happens after you've used a technology like this, right? You can set it up, you can launch it, you can have people engage, but sometimes we just move on to the next thing. We don't think about what we're doing with the technology after we've actually deployed it. So I want to talk for just a second about being aware of how your audience can be connected through a tool like this without leaving anybody out. So I mentioned at the beginning that sometimes it can be challenging if you're facilitating in the actual physical space where you have some learners while you have other learners working remotely. And that is one of the challenges of hybrid trainings or any type of hybrid learning. But when you use a tool like this and you get answers and start to get responses, you can work with your co-facilitator, or you can also just ask questions yourself to help sum up the types of results that you're seeing when people are actually responding to the Sli.do. So don't be afraid to take a little bit of time to read the responses, to get reactions from the learners in the room, because you want to validate the time that they took to participate in the activity, and you want to make sure you're using the information in a way that drives the conversation forward or even gives you a chance to reflect on what you've already talked about. We're going to post additional videos from Sli.do in our Moodle classroom because they have a lot of different support videos that are very short that give you tips and tricks on how to get things set up, what to consider with some of these different polling options, and much more. But I hope that this was an easy primer for you to understand that Sli.do is a great tool that you can use to get started connecting your audience, whether they're sitting in front of you or sitting at a computer halfway across the country. Thanks so much.